All right, welcome everybody to Agent Investor. I am your host and the founder of Agent Investor, Tom Caffarella. I'd like to welcome everybody to Agent Investor today. Agent Investor is the only brand that helps real estate agents, focuses specifically on helping real estate agents achieve financial freedom through investing in real estate. The Agent Investor model, which we talk about all the time, goes exactly like this. Agents sell real estate to make a living. Hopefully, you have some really good years. Maybe you can save some money. And then you flip to get big chunks of income, which you can then invest in syndications or ownership of passive assets to throw off monthly guaranteed income every single month. Why is this our mission? Why are we focused on helping agents specifically? I was an agent myself. I'm still an agent. I'm a broker owner. I don't actively sell real estate myself anymore, but I am a broker owner of an over 400-person real estate brokerage out of Wakefield, Massachusetts, right a little bit north of Boston. And my income was always going up and down every single month. I was on what they call the real estate roller coaster. Never having complete confidence in even my ability to even stay as an agent. Always worrying about when my next paycheck was coming in, feeling really, really rich some months, and then feeling like I'm broke the next month. Always worrying about, actually, funny enough, my biggest fear was going back to corporate America. I don't talk about this too much, but my biggest fear when it came to selling real estate was that I was going to have to go back and get a job. I love selling real estate. I love sales. I still love sales. I love everything about sales. I think it's super fun. And to me, it doesn't even feel like a job. But I was always worried, right? Like when you're not sure whether you're going to be able to make it, 3 more months into the future, having guaranteed monthly income is really, really important. And everybody's number is different. So we help agents achieve, whatever number they're looking for. But kind of a goal for most of the people that we work with, most of our listeners, is to get to 6 figures of passive income each and every month. Somewhere between $8,000 to $15,000 a month of passive income. Doesn't mean you have to stop there. But that's what we teach and preach. Helps relieve anxiety, helps take the pressure off of sales, helps you to not have to work every single weekend, every single holiday, pick and choose the clients that you're working with. There's just so many reasons why passive income is so important. And there's so many reasons why for agents specifically, you have an advantage. Agents have so many advantages when it comes to investing in real estate, between coming across deals by accident, having contacts, knowing how to value properties. You guys have just such a big leg up on the general public. So that's what we teach and preach. Today, we've got a really, really good episode. And it's interesting because it's actually what I'm going to call the path that almost everybody takes towards financial freedom in real estate. And again, for those of you who don't know me, I've been investing in real estate for almost 20 years now. And I've met countless investors, not just in my local area, but across the country, been a ton of different masterminds. And the path that most people take looks almost exactly the same. So I want to talk about that path today to make sure that everybody understands what that kind of looks like, and maybe gives you a little bit of clarity on the steps that you might need to take in order to achieve financial freedom. Okay. So I talked a little bit about the fact that the agent investor model, we focus on helping agents, sell for a living, right? Sell to pay your bills. Hopefully you make a little bit more. Fix and flip to get big chunks of income. And one thing that we specifically do at Agent Investor is we put up the money and do the construction for agents that find us deals. We have an agent partnership program where we're partnering with one agent per week on average. My goal is to partner with over 100 agents in the next 12 months, do 100 partner deals in the next 12 months. That's my personal goal. I hope that you guys can help me to get there by bringing me deals. What's the benefit of bringing me a fix and flip deal? Well, again, like I mentioned, we'll put up the money, all of the money. You put up no money. We'll do the construction, 100% of the construction. and we will split the profits 50-50. Our average fix and flip profit deal right now is about $80,000. I post a lot of the profits on my personal Facebook page. By the way, if you like the content that I give and you want more of it, please do me a favor and go to Facebook right now and follow me at Tommy Caffarella, Tommy Caffarella. Don't follow the Tom Caffarella page. I've got two of them. But the one that I use and I most actively post on is Tommy Caffarella. And I post those fix and flip profits. Some of them are as low as 30 grand. Some of them have been as high as 200,000. But again, we put up the money, we do the construction, and we split the profits with agents 50-50. How do you come across those deals? How does the partnership program exactly work? I'm not going to explain that today. I'm going to give you the opportunity to jump on a live call with me. I am now doing a live call every Wednesday at 10:30 a.m., which you can join for free at www.partnerwithagentinvestor.com. Again, you can go to www.partnerwithagentinvestor.com and you can jump on that call. You can ask me as many questions as you want. On that call, I'm going to go over the basics of the partnership program, our buy box, how we help you get deals under contract, what type of properties we're looking for. And again, any question that you could possibly have, they're always live. It is a Zoom call, and we've been averaging between 30 and 40 agents per week jumping on that call. I'd love for you to be the next person to jump on at www.partnerwithagentinvestor.com. I should mention on a partnership program, I've been getting a lot of questions on this lately. Do you have to be a part of our brokerage, or are there any fees to partner with you? And I want to be clear about this. Absolutely not. So for those of you who, I just explained the partnership. I just explained the agent investor model, right? We sell houses to earn a living. We do flips to get big chunks of income, and then we invest in passive assets. I don't just preach that. I live that, right? So my brokerage, that's the equivalent of me selling. That pays my basic bills, right? But where I make my real money is on the flipping, right? I don't make money on coaching fees. And my objective is to do as many big flips as possible so that I can personally get big chunks of income that I can then invest in assets, okay? So there's no fees to partner with us, and you don't have to be a part of our brokerage, okay? Last thing I want to mention about the partnership program, as we are growing this out, I am trying to spread the word as much as possible, but I do need your help. And one of the things that I talk about on that partnership program call every Wednesday at 10:30 is the downline that we've created just for you spreading the word and telling other agents about the partnership program. I'm going to go into detail on that on the Wednesday at 10:30 call, but all that you need to do is tell other agents about this partnership program and you can get paid for life. It's a very interesting concept, and it's a way to make passive income just by telling other people about the partnership program. So that's it about the partnership right now. I want to talk about a couple other things before I jump into the topic for today, which is, again, the path that almost everybody follows to achieve financial freedom in real estate investing. The path is almost the same for everybody. But I do want to talk about a couple other topics. The first is just the 80-20 rule and the book Eat That Frog. Okay, so I want to talk about this because one of the things that I do as a real estate mentor for the people that are in my Inner Circle program is my number one objective, and I think my best value that I can help people with is helping them determine how they spend their time. I say this a lot, but every person has the same amount of hours in a day, and the income or net worth that we build is going to be reflective of how we spend those hours, not the hours we work, how we actually spend the hours that we're working. And what I find, very, very commonly is that most people don't know how to spend their time, and or they are avoiding doing what we call the 80-20 work, or they're not doing the Eat That Frog principle. So I want to spend just 1 minute on this, and I could probably talk about this every single day for the rest of my life, but it's very, very important. Some of you have probably heard the 80-20 rule. It's called Pareto's principle. Pareto's principle states that 80% of all of the results that you get in business or in life come from only 20% of your activities. Meaning that if we work for 40 hours a week, there are 8 hours during the week that we're doing the most important work that produces most of the results. So one key is to try to figure out how you can do more of that work. Now, a lot of times that work is what we would kind of define as the harder work, right? It's prospecting, it's talking to people, it's looking for deals. It's all of the stuff that we kind of know that we should be doing on a day-to-day basis, but we might avoid as humans. And I talk about this a lot. It is very natural for humans to avoid pain and go to pleasure. In real estate, what that means in a lot of cases is that we are avoiding doing what we need to do and doing things that are easier, like responding to text messages, responding to emails, scrolling Facebook, right? Doing things that are not part of the 20% that produces 80% of the results. So there's a great book called Eat That Frog. And you don't need to read the book. You can read the book, but you don't need to, because I'm going to explain it in about 1 minute, the principle of it, and you'll get it as soon as you hear it. But the theory goes, eat that frog is if you need to eat a frog every day, the best time to do it is first thing in the morning. So I'm going to repeat that, right? And eating that frog is kind of like an aphorism for, the hard work that we know that we need to do. Like, nobody wants to eat a frog, right? Eating a frog is not an exciting thing, of course. Probably doesn't taste good, probably isn't that fun. But if we do it first thing in the morning, we'll have done it. We'll have guaranteed that we would have done it. And everything else in the rest of our day is going to get easier. So that applies to Pareto's principle, that 20% of the work that produces 80% of the results. If you know that the hardest thing to do in a day for you is to, reach out to your sphere or make some phone calls or door knock or send out those postcards or whatever it is that produces the biggest result, the best time to do it is earlier in the day. The earlier in the day, the better, because that's when we have the most energy. That's typically when we're least busiest, and before you do all of the busy work. Now, I'm not here to say like you can avoid the busy work, right? If you've got a closing, if you've got an investment deal that you're working on, like there's going to be stuff that you need to do each and every day that's very critical in your life and in your business. What I am saying is that there is no doubt that we can wait to do that work for a couple of hours, right? Or 2 or 3 or 4 hours, right? Do that busy work later when you have less energy. Because what happens is it's natural human instinct to do the easy work first. And you're using up all your energy doing the easy work. And then it's like 2 o'clock, 3 o'clock. And that now we really aren't going to do the hard work. It's going to be harder to do the hard work later. Okay. So just kind of like putting it out there that's such an important thing that I help people with on a weekly basis. And I'm mentioning that because I want to help more people, even if you don't work with me directly. Just take that as kind of fact. Okay. So again, one last kind of call out. If you want more content from me, if you like, what we say on a weekly basis, what I say on a weekly basis, follow me on Facebook at Tommy Caffarella. All right. So let's talk about how people get wealthy in real estate investing, right? Because that's really why you're here. That's the topic for this week. And again, I've been in so many coaching programs myself. I've been coached. I've been in mastermind groups. I've been in mastermind groups where people are doing, very impressive high-level things. Some people that are doing much more than me. And I've talked to countless investors. I've been on a ton of podcasts myself, and I always talk to the host about what they're doing because I'm always in search of, the most efficient path to achieving financial freedom, to growing my net worth, to growing my partner's net worth, and to helping other people. And what it always comes back to is this passive income thing and ownership of cash flowing assets and or investing in syndications. Okay. So that's what it always boils down to. And I want to talk about kind of the math of this. Okay. Why the math of this is kind of, so critical, right? So first, I'm going to talk quickly about syndications, and then I'm going to talk about the ownership of the assets themselves. And I said again, it's an and or thing, right? It doesn't have to be one or the other. It can be one or the other. It can be both. But it's an and or thing. So investing in other people's syndications, like investing in other people's deals, why would you do it? What's the value there, etc. So depending on your personality, depending on how much time you have, you may or may not want to operate assets. When I say that, the easiest kind of explanation I can give is kind of like manage properties, manage tenants. There are so many benefits of the ownership of an asset itself, whether it be a short-term rental, a multifamily property, you name the asset that you own that throws off cash flow. There are so many benefits of it. And I'm going to talk about those benefits in a minute. But the big negative of owning those assets is the work that goes into it, right? The day-to-day. Now, when I read the book Rich Dad, Poor Dad in 2003, it sounds really simple, right? And in most real estate investing courses or books, you'll hear something that goes something like this. You buy a cash flowing asset, you get a really good property manager. The property manager handles all the day-to-day, and then you kind of sit back and collect a check every single month. And I really love the book Rich Dad, Poor Dad. I talk about the book a lot. I talk about how it changed my life. But one reality about that just, wasn't mentioned and probably doesn't get mentioned enough when we're talking about like people that are selling seminars and books is that ownership of these type of assets is not passive. You can get a great property manager, and even so, it won't be passive. Now, getting a good property manager or a great property manager is a lot of work in and of itself, right? But even if you do get a good one, there's still a lot of day-to-day activity, and there's still risk that's involved. I don't think there's great risk, but you're responsible for the management. And for some people, they determine that rather than getting all of the benefits of the ownership of the asset, they're going to get some of the benefits of the ownership of the asset by investing in other people's deals. And they will avoid the day-to-day headache, and they will earn what is really, truly more passive income. So we've got syndications that people invest in. I do talk about those on that weekly call. So if you're interested in learning about our syndications, you can go to www.partnerwithagentinvestor.com. But the high level of it is whether you invest in our deals or somebody else's deals, the objective there is for you to put capital in and be completely passive. So the average syndication to earn $100,000 a year of passive income, you need somewhere between $600,000 to $700,000 of capital to achieve that six-figure a year of passive income. And I've actually had people that have owned and operated multifamilies that have sold them for big profits to then invest in our syndications because they were sick and tired of the management of those assets. Okay. So again, if you're interested in syndications or how our syndications work, you can go to www.partnerwithagentinvestor.com because this is all the time I want to spend on syndications right now. But like I said, it's an and or thing. We're talking about the path that almost everybody takes to achieving wealth, to becoming independently wealthy, to achieve financial freedom by investing in real estate. It's either investing in syndications, owning the assets, or both. And some people do both, right? So the other avenue is to own the asset. And I want to talk about the math of that and why this is so important, right? And some of you might already know this, but these points really can't be ignored. And there's something that if you don't own assets and you're not investing in syndications, I'm just giving you the reasons why this is the path that most people take. It's the path that a lot of people take that maybe even don't even understand some of these benefits. So let's talk about the benefits in general, right? So you buy an asset, maybe it's a single family, maybe it's a multifamily, maybe it's a short-term rental. Really doesn't matter, right? Because the objective is you buy an asset, that brings in income on a monthly basis that exceeds your expenses. That is the definition of cash flowing, right? So you should never buy an asset that's cash flow negative on day one, meaning that your expenses are bigger than the revenue that you bring in. But let's say that you buy an asset that is cash flow positive on day one. The assets that we buy on average cash flow about $500 per unit per month, right? So if we buy we don't buy 3-unit buildings anymore, but if we did, that would mean that we would make about $1,500 per month, or I believe that comes out to be about $18,000 per year, right? So that's benefit number one of ownership of the asset. But it gets a lot better than that. Now I'm located, again, I talked in the beginning, I'm about, maybe 10 miles north of Boston. For people that are outside of Boston, you can basically just call where we live Boston, Greater Boston. But no matter where you are in the country, rents go up, and they've gone up a lot. I remember when I was first buying cash flowing assets, units kind of near where I lived were renting out for about $1,000 to $1,200 per month. That was back in 2008, 9, 10, somewhere in that vicinity. Those same exact units are renting for double and sometimes 2.5 times the monthly amount that they were renting for. Why is this so important? And again, why is this the path for almost everybody? Well, it's the path because of the math, right? And I told you that in the beginning, for us, we aim to cash flow about $500 per unit. Well, what happens when that $1,000 a month unit goes to $2,000? Well, that means that instead of me cash flowing $500 per month, I am now cash flowing another $1,000 per month, or $1,500 per month per unit. So that building went from me making $1,500 per month to $4,500 per month for one small 3-unit building. And that happened to us on a lot of the small buildings that we owned before we ended up selling them and transitioning into apartments. So again, this is the path because of the math, right? That is huge in and of itself. If that is all ownership of assets did, that would be enough. That should be enough, right? Because you buy one 3-unit building, and 10 years later, it's making $50,000 a year. You had bought 2 of those, you'd be earning 6 figures a year from owning 2 buildings, right? But it gets better than that, right? The second benefit is appreciation, right? So you can't always say that, ownership of an asset is going to go up every year, but you can say, not with a guarantee, but with a likely probability that over a long enough horizon that the property value is going to increase, right? In that 10-year time period where I live, you're talking about doubling or even tripling of values. Well, that's important for your net worth, but what does that also do? It also gives you equity that you can pull to buy more assets. Why is that important? Because the more assets that you own that are cash flowing, the more cash flow you have, the more your net worth is going to grow. But it gets even better than that. You're paying down the asset, right? So maybe you bought the asset for $500,000 to start, and in 20 or 30 years, you're going to pay off that entire asset. The asset's going to be up in value, and you're going to have little to no mortgage, or you're going to be using that property as equity to put down on other assets. Now, I don't want to spend too much more time on why this is, why the math works, right? Because we talked about syndications, and we talked about the fact that you need between $600,000 and $700,000 in capital to earn 6 figures passively if you invest in the average syndication, right? Or we already talked about this, right? All that you need is 2, 3, 4, 5 cash flowing properties. If they're the ones that I talked about, the cash flow, $500 a month, wait 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 years, and now you've got $100,000 a year of passive income through the ownership of, 20 units, maybe 15 to 20 units, somewhere in that range, right? If we're talking about using a standard of $500 per month per unit, well, you do the math, that's 20 units times $500 per month. That's $10,000 per month. That's $120,000 per year. And that's not even factoring in rents going up, That's not factoring in all of the other stuff that's on top of that. So that's the path, right? That is the path that almost everybody takes. It is the path that if you know somebody who's wealthy in real estate, they will tell you that they either investing in syndications or they bought assets, they held, and every year they get more money, their capital grows, they reinvest back their capital, and it's just this game that they continue to grow over and over and over again. And what I just explained is something that anybody can do. That's the great part. And when I host in-person seminars, I do this to it's kind of funny, but it also to prove a point. I always ask, hey, does anybody in the room know somebody who got wealthy through the ownership of real estate? And almost everybody raises their hand, almost everybody, because it's so common. There is no more common way to get wealthy than investing in real estate. Like, you may possibly know somebody who got wealthy another way, but you probably know more than one person who got wealthy through real estate. And when I'm at the seminars, I always ask the question, I say, is that person you look at and say, genius, man, I couldn't even think of ever doing anything that they do? Or are they kind of like the more average, typical, common person who worked hard? And almost everybody raised their hand and said, yeah, they're more average, common person who worked really, really hard. So with that being said, some of the stuff you might have already known, right? You might have already read books on the path to getting wealthy in real estate, and it's through the ownership of assets or investing in other people's syndications. But, again, why aren't people doing it? And the reason why people aren't doing it, again, people will tell me, oh, it's fear, oh, it's this, oh, it's that. But really, in almost every case, it's really because they don't have the capital. Why don't you go out and buy a 3-unit building tomorrow? Why don't you invest in somebody's syndication tomorrow? And most of the time, it's because they don't have the capital. So getting back to the agent investor model, what we teach and what we preach is, I don't preach, hey, triple your sales and save $100,000 and invest in an asset or a syndication. Why don't I preach that? Because to me, that's hard. That's not only difficult, but not completely within our control. As I'm recording this right now, it's May 28th, 2024. We've had a tough couple of years. I mean, there are a lot of agents in my market who are used to selling 30 plus houses per year that have sold 10 houses, 12 houses. There are agents who used to sell 10 houses, then sold 2 houses last year because the inventory's down, right? So it's easy to say, hey, triple your sales. Instead of selling 30, sell 60 or sell 90 and save $100,000. But if the market isn't giving you that, right? I'm not saying you can't grow your real estate business. You can. But if it's a Herculean effort to grow your business, and then you have to save the money on top of it, it's why I advocate to flip either on your own or to partner with us. Because like I mentioned earlier, the average fix and flip profit that we split with agents is $80,000, which means that an agent gets 40 grand. Again, I had an agent do 2 deals with us in the last 6 months. Both of those deals made over $110,000. And I think their take home was somewhere near $120,000, right? So this is somebody who did this in 6 months. Not the typical story, but they came across 2 deals in 6 months. And now they've got somewhere near $120,000 that they can then either invest in a syndication if they want to be completely passive, or buy their own asset, use that as a down payment for their own asset. It's why we teach and we preach flipping. I've said this multiple times on my podcast, which is like, I flipped over 1,000 homes, but I still have no interest in flipping houses. It's going to sound counterintuitive, but I don't find the fixing and flipping business very interesting. I'm not, I don't love HGTV. You'll never catch me watching an HGTV show. I don't think it's boring, but I'm not super interested in it other than what it actually does, right? And the way that we invested into our first cash flowing assets was by doing flips, was by getting big chunks of income and saying, geez, we're selling real estate. Me and my partners, we're selling real estate. We're paying our bills. Oh man, we just do 2 flips. Now we've got 150K. What do we do with the 150K? Oh, we should probably buy an asset with it. And you buy an asset with it, and now you turn that 150K, maybe you buy 1 building or 2 buildings, depending on the price points. And now you've got 2K a month coming in passively that's indexed for rent inflation, which is super high. And now all of a sudden, like, you multiply that, and now you've got 6 figures a year coming in passive income. So a couple things I want to kind of say on this, right? We talked about the down payment, because a lot of people think like I'm not able to invest in real estate. I hear this all the time. I'm not ready to invest in real estate. I don't have the money for it. And those who are determined, they seek out other ways, right? And as I'm explaining, the partnership points to you, or the fixing and flipping to you, I am not sitting here saying that this is going to be super, super easy. It could be easy for some of you. The person I talked about that did 2 deals with us in the last 6 months, it was fairly easy for them. But it's not always going to be easy. But again, I talked about this in the onset of this presentation, which is agents have deals coming to them by accident. And a lot of it's just being aware. I've had an agent that we partner with find one at a continuing education event just by bumping into other agents. And on that partnership call, we talk about all the ways that agents find deals. Again, you can jump on that partnership call every week at www.partnerwithagentinvestor.com. I do spend a lot of time focused on how to find great deals. Okay. So those that really want it, and you have to want this, right? Because the default, I talked about the 80-20 rule and to eat that frog. The default is to spend your hours the wrong way and to not achieve financial freedom. It goes without saying that nobody else is going to make you rich. We can give you all the tools. We can give you the partnership program. We can give you the training. But it goes without saying that you've got to really want this. And you've got to desire having that passive income. And you've got to say, hey, I want to do this for myself or my family or somebody else. And I'm willing to put in the work, right? So the shortcut, the path that everyone talks about, towards building wealth is to find, create big chunks of income for down payments, buy undervalued assets, wait, and within a 10-year period, become wealthy. So I do want to mention, because I like to be very scientific and specific here. There are some people, I talked about the agent investor model a lot. There are some people out there that don't need to follow that model to get the down payments to own these assets or to invest in syndications. If you fall into that category, I still would recommend partnering with us on some deals if you come across great deals. But if you're super high net worth already, or you're just a very big income earner that saves a lot, and you can save $100,000 plus per year, then you can do that, right? You don't necessarily need to flip. Part of the model that I'm talking about, you don't need to do, but you still need to invest in syndications and invest in real estate. But as I'm kind of sitting here talking, I know most of my audience doesn't fit into that category. I know I didn't fit into that category. I know when I was selling real estate, I struggled to even pay my bills, never mind making enough money to save 6 figures. But if you've either got a real estate business that allows you to save 6 figures plus, or maybe you sell real estate part-time and you're just very high paid job and you're able to save 6 figures, or maybe you're married and one or two of you makes a lot of money and you're able to save that $100,000 per year to invest, throw some of the stuff that I mentioned, out the window. But other than that, like, I look at the fixing and flipping as just the easiest way to get those big chunks of income. Okay. So I want to kind of leave with a kind of a quote that my friend says to me all the time. He's a friend and he's my personal trainer. He's somebody that I respect a lot. And he works with people every day, right? And everybody who comes to him that, he is a personal training client of his, what do they want? Well, they want to have they want to be healthy. They want to be strong. They want to have really good bodies, right? And he always says the same thing, and he says it to me, and it's kind of funny, but it's related to everything that we do, right? And he says to me and other clients, he says, I can teach you everything you need to know about getting in shape in 30 minutes, but it'll take you years to understand and accept what I just said. It'll take you years to both understand and accept what I just said. And the reason for that is just like getting into shape, right? We kind of all know what we need to do, but we have to accept that what somebody who's ahead of us, who has had success, is telling us. We have to say, okay, yes, you are right. And I need to take action on it. And I say that quote that he said to me, it'll take me 30 minutes to show you everything you need to know about getting into shape, but it'll take you years to understand and accept it, is going back to what I mentioned earlier. And I hope I'm saying this, it might come off the wrong way, but I have to say it. I see a lot of people searching for things that are not what I'm saying in this episode, right? They're looking for other ways to become wealthy. They're looking for other paths. And how he kind of like, says it to me is like, we all know, right, that, if we go out every weekend and we have a good time, it's going to be really hard to kind of like recover from that, like during the week. And we're talking about fitness here. And it's kind of like the same thing when it comes to wealth and creating wealth through real estate. It is that like we kind of already know what we need to do, but it's simple, but it's not always that easy. So sometimes we look for other answers. And a lot of times the people that I work with on a day-to-day basis, they're kind of always circling back around to me. What about this? What about that? And there's nothing more than what I just explained in this episode. If you only listen to this one episode and you only followed what I said today, and you said, okay, I'm going to sell, to make a living, then I'm going to go out and hunt for great deals so that I can either earn the 80K myself or partner with Tom. He'll put up the money, he'll do the construction, and split the 80K to get 40,000, and then invest that into syndications or invest into the ownership of assets. And you did that and you follow that advice for 10 years, you'd be financially free in 10 years or less, right? Probably won't happen in a year, probably won't happen in 2 years. 10 years or less, yeah, it can definitely happen. And it does happen for most people in 10 years or less. So if you're interested in learning more about finding deals, how our partnership program works, jump on that call at www.partnerwithagentinvestor.com. I do it every week. Register for it, and we can have a discussion. And follow that 80-20 Pareto principle, eat that frog principle, right? If you know what to do every day, then start your day doing it. And the rest of your day will get easier. Ignore those text messages, ignore those emails, ignore the busy work, ignore scrolling Facebook, ignore all the other stuff that is the stuff that aren't getting you results. Focus on what is getting you the results. Double down on it. And thank you guys for tuning in. It's an honor to have you paying attention and listening to what I'm saying. I going back, 15 or 20 years, I was the person who was listening to all these calls, going to all these events. So the fact that I'm on the other end, I really value the fact that people are on here listening, and I appreciate you. And if I can ever help you in any way, please feel free to reach out. Follow me on Tommy Caffarella, TommyCaffarella